Time now for Inside Utah Politics.
Thanks so much for joining us. I'm Glenn Mills. It is time to go inside Utah politics. We do begin today with Representative Chris Stewart. He joins us via Zoom from Salt Lake International Airport. Representative, that's a first for the show.
A first for the show. It's a beautiful airport. But I hope everyone in Utah has a chance to come down and enjoy it as they travel. And we look forward to a day when more people are traveling and interacting with their family and just getting out. And that day's coming, which I know you're going to talk about later on in the show. Yeah,
no doubt about that. It's good to have you on the show. It's been a while. So let's get into it right away. Let's start with the election results. I know that more than 100 of your colleagues, Republican colleagues in the House, endorsed the lawsuit from Texas seeking to overturn those results in 4 states. You were not one of them. But I haven't really heard you speak publicly your thoughts on the results. So what are you thinking?
Well, obviously, I'm disappointed with the outcome from the election. That's not going to surprise anyone. And I have great respect for President Trump and really the policy successes he has had, I think have just helped tens of millions of Americans. But the outcome wasn't what I was hoping for. And look, I understand why the president and many others were concerned. I understand why there was questions, and we should answer those questions. I've supported, in every one of these cases, I've supported the different lawsuits. If there are questions or doubts, they absolutely should be answered. I mean, the very worst thing we could do is leave them lingering and find out the truth and then just tell the people the truth. But I think we've reached a point where the electors have spoken. And although that's disappointing for many of us, and although there are still lingering questions that I think should be pursued so that people know, that's where we are. And now my responsibility then falls on trying to defend Utah values and advocate for Utah values with the new president.
So, Representative, at this point, do you acknowledge the results as legitimate?
Well, yeah. I mean, the electorals have spoken. I do think, though, Glenn, and this is very important, I think, for anyone. Whether you like the president or not, whether you supported the president or not, there are legitimate concerns. There are legitimate questions. And once again, we should answer those questions. The very worst thing that could happen is for half of America to feel like the electoral process is violated in some way. And then just to leave that lingering, we should pursue those questions and answer those questions.
But and just to be clear, though, Representative, we have seen those cases make their way through the courts more than 50 times, and the courts set those aside. Even in some cases, specifically Pennsylvania, saying this case lacks merit and there is no evidence to support it. But yet the president still claims widespread fraud.
In some of the cases, there's no question about that, including the Supreme Court case. And I'm not even specifically addressing individual cases. As you said, there's more than 50 of them, and some of them have not been resolved and should be. I'm talking more broadly than that, Glenn. I'm talking about the entire process. Have we got safeguards in place to make sure that people who move don't vote in 2 states? Have we got safeguards in place to make sure that signatures are being compared and that they're actually being authenticated? Have we got safeguards in case where we can assure American people that the voting machines are not being manipulated? And by the way, that's been bipartisan. Vice President Biden made that point 2 years ago. He was adamant about these machines open us up to hacking, and we need to be careful about that. Those are the questions I'm talking about. I'm talking about specific to this, but more broadly about we can't have American people lose faith in the electoral process. If we do that, we lose faith in our future and our ability to govern ourselves.
Okay, Representative, you say right now that you accept the results of the election. Other Republicans are saying the same thing in the nation's capital, but the president is still saying this election was stolen. He has not conceded. Are you concerned about the doubt this is sowing within millions of Americans across the country when it comes to this important institution of voting?
Well, once again, I think the electorals have spoken. Most Americans see that. The president has a different view. I don't think that surprises anyone. I think people who say this is going to lead to the downfall of our republic are greatly exaggerated. I mean, for heaven's sakes, the same thing happened with Al Gore in 2000 and others. There have been others who have taken cases to the courts. We will survive this, and in a little more than a month, it will be over regardless. So, if the president wants to pursue these, he has absolute right to do that. And I can't speak nor control his views on this.
I want to get your thoughts on the Republican Party as a whole. Is the president going to continue to be the standard bearer over the next 4 years for the Republican Party, or is this an opportunity for someone else to rise up and carry that mantle?
Well, I think probably both of them are true, but to what degree we just don't know. I mean, if someone knows that future, then please enlighten the rest of us. I don't think the president is going to, retire down to Mar-a-Lago and we'll never hear from him again. That seems extraordinarily unlikely, and I hope he doesn't do that. I want him to continue to advocate and to continue to speak for things that he thinks are important. I do, however, think that there are other Republicans who are ready and prepared, and I hope that they will step forward as well. Now,
Okay.
do I hope the president runs again? I mean, I really don't know. I just
If that were to happen, what are the potential risks to the party? We don't have to look any further than the state of Utah to see significant numbers of Republicans did not vote for this president. A Republican incumbent should be doing better than 58% in the state of Utah. He finished dead last when you compare him to all of the statewide Republicans on the ballot. So is there a risk to the party for him to continue to maintain his power?
Well, Glenn, I mean, I think I know what you're saying, but he can't maintain his power, not in a sense literally.
Right,
All
within
he's gonna do
the
be a
party
private
is what
citizen who's
I
gonna be
mean.
advocating. But you look like everything in politics, there's some upsides and some downsides to it. Yeah, there's no question that there were some people who disagreed with his style and his the very boisterous and kind of aggressive manner that he showed. On the other hand, there's tens of millions of people who greatly appreciate it, who feel like he's talking for me, he's advocating for me. And this isn't a zero-sum game. There's some good and there's some trade-offs, regardless of what he does. But once again, the party is big enough that we're going to be able to, continue to embrace a lot of things that President Trump has stood for and has fought for. And at the same time, other people will, I think, find a voice and they'll be able to move forward. And Glenn, one other thing I want to mention, and I know this isn't probably what you want to talk about, but it's really important. If you talk about the future of the party, I mean, Republicans came within a few votes of taking the House once again. I'm confident we'll take the House majority in 2020. We protected the Senate. We are positioned for a dramatic realignment in the American electoral because of where we are right now. You're going to see the more and more minorities embrace the Republican Party.
No, it was definitely a good night for the Republican Party. You only lost 2 seats in the Senate, but also gained 1 there, and we'll see how Georgia plays out. But no doubt, it was a good night for you and your colleagues in the Republican Party. Representative, you've been doing some important work on suicide prevention. I want to get to that. Why did you pick up that issue and carry some of these bills across the finish line? We have about 2 minutes left.
Yeah, okay, I'll try and be brief. Look, when I went to the House, I didn't know that I would become involved with this, but I'm so grateful that I've had the opportunity. And the reason is really pretty simple, Glenn. It's because I don't know anyone who hasn't been impacted in their life, either their own family or someone that they love, by suicide or suicide attempt. It's just pervasive through our society, and frankly, Utah is not the best in the country in this.
Yeah.
We're the 5th highest suicide rate in the country, and that shocks a lot of people, and it's heartbreaking. And the reality is that we could do some things that could help. And so the suicide prevention hotline number, it's going to save thousands of lives. What an honor to be able to be the leader on that. And the Suicide Act, which is pending now, the president signed the hotline number. But there's one other piece to that, which we still need to get through the House, which helps collect data and information and just makes us more informed as we begin to study the causes and how to treat suicide. That's another important part of it. So, I'm really, really grateful we've had the opportunity to work on this and to help Americans who really are the most vulnerable among us. Oh my gosh, if you deal with depression or mental illness, that is heartbreaking for families. And there's things we can do to help. And once again, I'm just so honored that we've been involved with that.
And it has really hit us hard here in the state of Utah, as you mentioned. And a lot of people were really on board with this hotline because it's going to be one simple number that everyone can remember in a time of crisis. Pick up that phone and help will be right there. And that number is 988.
988. You call that immediately in the middle of a mental health crisis. If you said when you don't know where to turn, you're afraid of your spouse, one of your children, a friend, call that number and you're going to immediately be talking to people who are going to be able to help you and help with an intervention if it's necessary.
All right. Representative, I wanted to get into some of your priorities heading into the next session, but unfortunately we've run out of time. Perhaps you can come back in a couple of weeks and we can get more.
We'll come back. Love to do that. Thank you.
All right. Appreciate your time. Thanks so much.
Yes, sir.